According to Britannica, conflict between the Taliban and Afghanistan dates back to 1996 when the Taliban seized Kabul, Afghanistan's capital. Ever since then, the two sides have gained and lost land in a continuous cycle. Who in the audience has ever heard of 9/11? A large majority of you may have, so some of you may have prior knowledge to this situation. My topic is the Taliban's recent takeover of Afghanistan, and specifically how people are being affected by the takeover. The central argument is that violence, the treatment of women, and the repression of ethnic minorities characterizes life under the Taliban's rule. I have extensively researched this situation, and I have sourced my information from Britannica, Amnesty International, The Wall Street Journal, and NBC News. First, we will talk about the rampant violence. According to the UN Assistant Mission in Afghanistan, otherwise known as the UNAMA, the Taliban was responsible for 45% of the civilian casualties between the period of January 1st and September 30th in 2019. This is quoted by Amnesty International. Children are recruited by both sides and face sexual abuse and are exposed to violence. This shows that even children who are fighting for pro-government forces are unsafe. Armed militant groups are responsible for numerous terrorist attacks, like purposely killing civilians, thus causing unrest. The UN confirmed that 6,470 grave violations against children were reported, with nearly half attributing to the Taliban. This includes nearly 300 attacks on schools and hospitals. This information is quoted from an August 16, 2021 United Nations article. A widely practiced custom in Afghanistan called bakabasi, which is the constant sexual abuse between boys and men, has traumatized many. Another group that is marginalized and disrespected is women. Since seizing control of Afghanistan, the Taliban has tried to project a more moderate image than when they were last in power in the 1990s. This is quoted in the New York Times article, which was dated August 15th. A few areas of Afghanistan that fell under Taliban control in recent weeks were heavily restricted. Women were banned from leaving without a male relative and were forced to wear burqas, which cover a woman from head to toe. This goes back to the first years of Taliban rule from 1996 to 2001, when women risked torture, beatings, or execution for simply going outside. Taliban spokesman Zabihullah Mujahid called keeping women at home a temporary policy intended to protect women until the Taliban could ensure their safety. A similar claim was made previously by the old regime, and the women suffered under their rule. So we will see how that turns out. Lastly, we'll discuss what life is like for ethnic minorities. Life has been difficult for people who have ethnic and religious differences that differ from the Taliban's. Millions of Afghans who are members of religious minorities fear that the militants' return to power will bring oppression or death. The following information is quoted from the August 29th NBC News article, 2021. They should not be surprised by this because religious leaders have been threatened with death for preaching messages contrary to the movement's strict, austere interpretation of the Islamic religion. On March 20th, gunmen raided a Sikh religious complex in Kabul and killed 25 people. These types of attacks have become synonymous with the Taliban's rule. Today, we have discussed violence, the treatment of women, and the repression of ethnic minorities. I will leave you all with this quote: "War is cruelty. There is no use trying to reform it. The crueler it is, the sooner it will be over. William Tecumseh Sherman."